Hi, sisters. Here we are on a Share Your Story interview with my friend Frida, and I'm so excited to get to know you. So, first of all, Frida, where are you calling in from?
I'm calling from Norway and I am Norwegian and I live in Norway currently. I've been living several places in the world, but now I'm back in Norway.
Oh, well, I'm so happy you're here, and we're happy to have you share part of your story today. So, Frida, where do you want to begin?
That's such a vast question. I don't even know. Well, I mean, I could do like try to do a quick outline of my life
I think
story.
we'd love to know that. Yeah, you are such a fascinating energy and so bright, and you've had a lifetime of interweaving experiences, as you've shared with me. And so, yeah, give us an overview.
So I'm from the Norwegian fjords, which are kind of famous. I come from a family of fishermen and whalers and farmers, so very connected to the earth and the ocean in particular. I would say that formative years of my childhood, I grew up in the Arctic north of Norway, which is the northernmost town in the world, Hammerfest, uh, which have these polarities because in the summer you have some months of just midnight sun and it looks like daylight the whole time. And then in the wintertime, you have 2 months of darkness and 1 hour of twilight. So even there you have the sort of the polarities and you have the northern lights and the stars. And I was very connected with the stars. Whenever I walked to school and back from school, I was looking at the stars. I was looking at the Big Dipper and the Small Dipper and the polar, no, what do you call it? The North Star and well, all the star configurations. And I was longing to go home, which was like an absurd idea, but I think many of us feel that way. You know what? I can actually see myself. I think I'm gonna do it in a way that I only see you. Oh, that's so much better. Not looking at
Perfect.
myself. Yes. Um, so and also my life, my childhood and my life in general has been a life of contrast, like polarities. So when I learned recently I had a galactic astrology reading with Miriam Wiedemann, and she told me that this time, I mean, I've been in as we all have, many star systems and many planets and all that. But I came in through Polaris, which is really interesting considering that I was raised in the north and the Polaris is the North Star, is the same thing. And it's also part of the Orion belt. So you have the contrast. And my childhood was a lot of contrast because on one hand, I grew up in a very strict religious setting, like a cult. And then on the other hand, I was really free floating because um, it was just my mother and me, and she was working and studying to be a nurse and away a lot. So from the age of like 5, 6, I was on my own a lot of every day, like 5 days a week. And that gave me incredible freedom. So as long as I could cover my tracks, I could do like a Pippi Longstocking life. Like I could do whatever I wanted. There was nobody to sort of stop me. So I spent a lot of time in nature and playing in the river, which I wasn't allowed to, or in the lake, which I wasn't allowed to, or doing all the things I wasn't allowed to, and roaming about in the mountain and really feeling that everything was alive. That's something I could that resonated with me. And then with the religious upbringing, which was my mother's mission, she was a convert into Mormonism. But in Norway, Mormonism is a very like a minority religion, and it was also in the outskirts. It was really like the Puritan, like the early Mormonism from the early prophets, and very like hardcore. So a lot of, fear of the devil and listening to the grown-ups talking about their own experiences with the devil. So a lot of fear for me, and also because I was so much on my own, and I quickly figured out that the devil only came when people were alone, like Jesus 40 days in the desert, or Joseph Smith, the prophet, when he was 12 years old in the woods by himself. And I spent a lot of time with myself alone, so that was kind of, scary. So you had this like what I call now the 3D Frida, which was really part of that 3D world, and then the 5D Frida, which is the free floating spiritual one who was roaming about in nature at the time. So it's this contrast, and I think my life has been a lot of life experiences, and I always wanted to experience life. I had this very strong urge. I wanted to travel. I wanted to experience life. I remember when I was a child thinking that I wish I could have every disease one day, so that just so I could know what it was like to have
Mm.
every diseases. Stuff like this, It's like I really wanted to experience life, and I've done that. And I was able to, I left the church when I was 17 years old, and that was still the hardest thing I ever did because in that religion, the only ones, the way I was brought up, the only ones who came to out of darkness to live with Satan was the one who knew the truth and rejected it. So Mormons. So that was, if I was wrong, that's what I was facing. But once I was able to leave, I never looked back. And I think if you look at my life from the outside, like I've had such an eventful life because I've done so many things. I traveled the world, I lived abroad, I studied, I blah blah blah, all these kind of amazing things. And so it's like a life of privilege. And yet I was not born with a silver spoon, and I manifested so much in my life without money because I didn't have it, but I had I was really following my heart and my passions. And I think that's sort of my sort of I think how I not survive because I would have survived, but how I sort of came out on top with all the contrasts I was living through, like religious abuse, psychological abuse, emotional abuse, and childhood neglect, and also later in relationship and all that, was because I had from early on this I had read this book about Pollyanna, and it's about this girl who's an orphan. I think she comes to this mean aunt, and then she has to live in the attic, and but her mindset is always finding positive things. Like she always sees the glass is half full rather than half empty, and that has been my personality or my inspiration from what I was reading. I don't know. That has sort of followed me through. And like Helen Keller was
Mm.
a great, Helen Keller, who was blind, deaf, and mute originally. I mean, one of her sayings was, keep your face to the sunshine and that you'll never see the shadows. And that was on my wall, like my whole teenagehood. And I think there's something to that. So I see that as something that has followed me through. And that positivity and that enthusiasm and that passion by following my heart, that has sort of been my North Star, you may say. Following my North Star, yeah. You were asking before we started, what's my North Star?
Right. What would you say to people who maybe aren't as comfortable with the glass half full, permission to look on the bright side, either because they've been taught that that's not the appropriate way, or they've, had these practices and cycles where they haven't. It sounds like you've had that approach for quite some time, and so you're more comfortable in that approach, and maybe it comes up to your mind and your heart first. So, what would you say to someone who's like, how can I be more like you if I'm not innately created to be more, because it does sound like this approach gives you an upper hand on really keeping that sunshine there, right? And maybe not avoiding the shadows, but at the same time, when you're focused on this, it's just a brighter way to live.
It's a decision. It's a decision you sometimes have to make every day or every hour or every minute. It's a mindset. And if you look at it at the higher perspective, the way I see it, it's all neutral. It's not really, nothing is positive and negative. We experience it that way. But if you think about it, we are all extensions of source experiencing itself. So that whether you choose to go down that rabbit hole or down there, it doesn't really matter because that's part of source as well. And but for you, for me at least, it's more comfortable and more fun and more rewarding to choose that path. And that's a choice because it's not that I haven't been depressed. I know depression. I've been through that. And it's not that I haven't, I mean, I didn't even know it was depression because I don't get depressed. But when I
Hmm.
came to a point, I was lying in bed one day and I felt this dark hole behind my head, like an abyss, a dark abyss that I could fall into. And I thought, oh my goodness, that's the dark hole they talk about when they're depressed. Oh my, I didn't know that was a thing. Like it's actually like it is, I don't know, a consciousness. It is actually something. It's not just a saying. It's like a living, breathing thing. And I'm feeling it. I guess I am depressed, you know? So, but in my mindset, it didn't fit my image to not wanting to the world. Definitely didn't fit my image, but not to myself either. Like I'm not a depressed person, but then I had to face that and I had to, peel off the layers and go through digest basically my some of my childhood trauma and drama and all that, and sort
Hmm.
of sort through all that and put it into find these little drawers to put it in. So, and that when you do that, then you can sort of you get to the other side and you're no longer a victim and you are a survivor, and this becomes one of your toolbox, part of your toolbox to understand.
Thank
So I
you.
think that it basically it's a decision. That's what it feels like to me. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
well
if you
said.
do that, if you choose, it's like a law of attraction thing. If you keep focusing, but the thing is like you can keep focusing on thinking positive, but if the underlying emotion is not with you, the feelings are always stronger. The way I experience it, feelings are always the strongest, so that you can think as much as you want, but unless you feel it, it's going to go the other way. So you have to feel it. You have to feel things into existence. You have to feel the joy. You have to feel sometimes that maybe is eating an ice cream, because that makes you produce endorphins. So that can give you like a little rush, or it can be dancing around in the living room and definitely going for a walk in nature. That's, there's so many ways to do this. Or you can just, like me, I just like to sit or lie and just focus on my heart and just draw in the light and draw in the joy and draw in love and think about things I love and situations I've appreciated. And yeah,
So, what in your life right now is bringing you joy and love?
oh my God. Well, actually, right now it's really very cool connecting with all these autistic mothers and autistic kids and autistic communities. I'm so in awe in all that because when I was at Cambridge University, I did a master's in education on alternative education. So I before that I had done the leading up to that I had done the Camino de Santiago, which is like a very famous pilgrimage in northern Spain that leads to a cathedral in Santiago de Compostela. And people are like hundreds of thousands are doing this every year, and they've done this from for 2,000 years or something, and they come from all walks of life and all religion and even atheists, and they're so and it's right under the Milky Way, and that it's so charged with energies from all these pilgrimages from all these, centuries. So it's a very powerful and very magical walk. And I met this father who had an autistic son, and he told me this story that really engaged me about, on one hand, how this kid was had his passion, his special interest was the Catholic Church. So this was a very Catholic Spanish family. So this kid knew everything there was worth knowing about the Catholic Church, and he had written a book. He was like 12 years old, had written 600 pages about the Catholic Church and its history, and his goal was to become a pope and to change it so that the cardinals could, or the priest could marry. That was like his goal. So his father was like very supporting, but hoping that he was going to adjust his goals with time. And then on the other hand, he also had CP, and it was a story of a kid who was like severely bullied in school, and he was forced to do these subject that he had no interest in, and the teachers didn't understand it, so he was bullied by the teachers and bullied by the kids, and like it was a complete nightmare for the kid and a complete nightmare for the parents because they had to force it. Like so, it was this, and I afterwards I was so worked up. I just couldn't sleep that night. It was like tossing and turning and da la la. And then 4:30 in the morning, it just came to me that I'm gonna do something about this. This has to change. Like this has to change.
Yeah.
And I just knew that I'm gonna do something about this. And then I could sleep. And this is sort of how my life is. Like I feel something very passionately and it just comes to me and I know I have to do something about this. And I'm in Aries, you're in Aries, you
Mhm.
like nothing because you know the
Yeah, I'm
drill.
just listening to you. I'm over here going, I have chills, and I'm like, it's almost impossible to not hear the call right now from the
Yeah.
collective. So I just
And
applaud you for hearing it, receiving it.
this was back in 2012 actually.
Hmm.
So then at Cambridge, when time came to write my thesis, I attended a autistic symposium um, on the Rubik's Cube. The professor who made he was there, so it was like a celebration of that. Of course, he's an Asperger's. He's talking about the cube with such passion.
Hmm.
And there were several autistic people talking like an artist and others. And also, I don't know if you are familiar with Derek Paravacino. He's a autistic savant piano, incredible
Hmm.
pianist, and he's been on 60 Minutes. He's very famous, and you give him like a key and a note, and he can play whatever, just like that. Or he hears something, he can play it. And when you speak to him, it's like talking to a 2-year-old. He's has the like parroting, and he really doesn't know. I mean, he doesn't really speak. He just reflects back to you. And but apparently, according to his teacher, which is very much like a Helen Keller situation, that he came in at a young age with this crazy little kid and has been able to channel him through, and they're still collaborating. And he's written a biography, which is really interesting about him as well. And he told me that Derek, when he meets a person, he will always remember their name. Like he remembers everybody he meets. And so I spoke with Derek, and whatever he said, it was just like these, the empty words. But his heart was just immaculate. It was just pure love. And he was so beautiful. Yeah, because these kids, that's who they are. They are so incredible. And yeah. Anyway, so
I
when
love
I
you,
was,
Derek.
yes.
I'll have to post one of Derek's piano plays.
Yeah, I will find
Yeah.
I find the video and post. If you post this
Thank you so
interview,
much.
I'll find the 60 minutes.
And
There's
I'll
many.
really be crying.
He's a beautiful soul, and you can just feel it. When you're in his presence, it's like his aura is like, oh, radiant. Um, and also there was one artist who had been diagnosed with Asperger's as an adult, and he was talking about the severe bullying that he was experiencing. And again, it's like boom, it came back. The reminder from because I had tried to do something, nothing hadn't worked. So but now it's like, oh, back. So that's why I ended up writing about autism and learning. Yeah. And it was like an advocate. You're supposed to be neutral, but I didn't even pretend to be neutral. I'm like advocating for their necessity and right to be learning through their passions. They have to be the lead and we have to sort of accommodate them in the learning process. But when you're at Cambridge, they have one or two libraries in the UK which has to have all one copy of every book released in English. So you have this like 9 million books available to you. And then I started reading about autism and spirituality and Susan Miller and awesomeism. And that was so like I was just that's what I was reading about. And that's what I was really like blown away about. And I was reading all these autistic autobiographies, nonverbal as well. And then you just between the lines sometimes, and sometimes you read about everything that came out in the telepathy tapes. I know from there basically. And then life goes on and blah blah blah. Nothing happens, and now I'm working this and I'm doing that and blah blah blah. And now we are like, and again, I felt like sometimes a failure, like I never did, like I intended to do something, I never did something, and here we are. And then all of a sudden, I'm a part of the all admin team in the Doorway to Consciousness group. And Melissa Jarvis posts that she has a link to a meeting. So I said, okay, I better like I allowed the link. And I thought I better attend to see what it's about because she didn't have any description. And normally we don't allow anything that doesn't have a description or a text. But it started 5 minutes ago. So okay, let me just let me allow it and attend it, and then I can. And
Mhm.
that was like the start, the first meeting, and then Kevin Young with his this telepathy group, and then Casey Carter with her group, and then you reach out and with the greeting from the Autist Collective, they are the autists, and we connected, and now I'm here, and it's like it's just building. It's beautiful. Yeah.
Forever family returning and amazing individuals that you just named. And if anyone's listening to this call, Frida's referencing a couple different Facebook groups that are available to parents and advocates of non-speakers or neurodivergent
Anyone
or
interested?
speakers. And one is called Telepathy and Autism. That's one you mentioned that Kevin Young and I think Casey are on.
I
But
think it's autism consciousness, so
okay.
telepathy or something like that. Yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
sure, but we can post those
It's
groups as well
Yeah, that
in the
would be
chat.
great. It's just such
Yeah.
an incredible group of individuals right now, and it really feels like forever family, like this little warmth and the comfort. And the one of the most recent calls that Melissa hosted, a young man who was 15, Will, came on, and he is able to speak a bit, and he just brought this message through, and he was, I miss you. I love you.
Beautiful.
It was just so simple, but it was like, we're returning.
The
We
energy
remember.
behind it.
Oh, yeah. My friend once said to me, words are entropy. And I've thought about that statement over and over. And yeah, sometimes we do have limitations in what we're saying and hearing and reading, but when it's that magnetized love connection and suddenly all of your senses almost retreat and all you feel is the enveloped love hug and it's
Yeah, yeah.
your presence. And that's what this community offers. So thank you for your commitment to this mission in this community for so
Well, it's
long.
not
I'm
really, yeah, I mean,
excited.
it's like another passion. Like I have many passions, like I follow my heart basically. Like I feel something
Yeah.
activates my heart and then I'm just going with it.
So tell me
Uh,
about your passion for sea life.
Yes, because as I mentioned, I come from a family of whalers and fishermen and farmers, and so that was sort of installed in me at a young age. My favorite place was to be at sea with my father and my grandfather and my uncle, and to be fishing and also my grandfather was a whaler and my father was actually also he was working, he was a steward on a whaling ship, a ship that Greenpeace actually chained themselves to, so when I was a
Whoa.
teenager, I know, and then I was like, oh my God, because it was like, oh my God, Dad, what are you guys doing? Like it was shifting my perception, and he with his perspective saying, well, the ocean is getting, we are overfishing, the oceans is getting empty. So unless you sort of uh, regulate the whaling, the whales, they will, finish whatever. I'm like, oh no, but back and forth. Anyway, it's like another story. But yeah, so I grew up with the consciousness about the whales really from a young age. And then when I had this drive for a few years that I wanted to swim with the dolphins, and I was looking into like how to swim with dolphins, and nothing really attracted me. And then in my junk mail one day popped in this, last minute summer wild dolphin camp in Croatia. I'm like, oh, what's that? And oh my God, this is it. And off I go. Like, I borrow some money. Like it's very interesting. I've done a lot of spiritual journeys. That's why I call myself spiritual explorer as well. And incidentally, when they happen, I normally don't have money. So I have to manifest the money. So that becomes part of the journey.
Mm.
It's funny. So I went down there and I swam with dolphins. But what was more importantly, because what I haven't mentioned is I've had three major burnouts in my life. And I think that comes from the 3D versus the 5D. So I've done so much and I've been running around and doing so much. Anyway, so I've had these burnouts and I had like a decade of disease, and I sort of
Mm.
had accepted that I couldn't be in the cold water, like my body couldn't take coldness, and I had like a whiplash and blah blah, all these kind of things. I should just add, whenever I was sick of a period like that, that's when I was able to go deep in my spirituality, because I was
Mm.
always spiritual, but I was sort of like take my spirituality and add it into my practical life. And it was my private thing. Like I never had a desire or need to come out of the spiritual closet. I was really very happy there. Like the Mormons are very missionaries, so I had been knocking on doors with missionaries when I was 11 years old and really not wanting to do it. And so I was like, I didn't have any desire to be someone on the
Yeah,
leading
an
edge of spirituality.
evangelist. Yeah, an
That was like
evangelist.
my spirituality. It was really it was very much in the closet. But anyway, so I got lost track now. Where was I? Help me.
We were talking about your
Yeah, so
passion for
I had
whales and
accepted, I had
the three.
accepted,
Mhm.
I had accepted that I couldn't be in the water. But when I came there, I was like, okay, we were right. I gotta get into the water. Like, how can you swim with dolphins if you don't get into the water? And I got into the sea, and I was like, oh my God, I'd completely forgotten how much I love the sea. So I just didn't get out of the sea. I think I was there for like an hour, 40 minutes or something. And every day I was just like in the sea. And I was like, not even swimming much, just like being in the sea, floating in the sea, playing in the sea, like a little mermaid or seal or something, and just hanging out in the sea. And one day I caught a cold and I thought, oh no, like, okay, I gotta be sensible. And tomorrow, I'm not going to go into the sea today. I'm going to get well because I can't risk getting even worse. So next day, I was still wasn't any good. And I'm like, I don't have time to wait for this. Like, I'm going home in a few days. Like, F it, get in the water. And that day, I only spent, I think, like 30, 40 minutes in the ocean. And when I came out of the ocean, I felt so much better. Like I realized that the sea actually healed me, that it was healing. It
Yes.
was not the sea that was the problem. It was the wind afterwards if you didn't rest up. Like being in the sea really physically healed me. It's healing. And from that on, there was no way. I was just like a little mermaid in that water. I spent all the time, so as much as I could in the sea, and it was almost like it activated my whole, like my DNA. Like I have the sea in my DNA. That's how I can describe it. Like my grandfather came through and it was all about, it was just, I could just feel the sea in myself. And it
Mhm.
just, yeah, basically, the sea got activated within me. That's how it felt. And I came home and oh, of course, meeting the dolphins is incredible, right? And I think no further description needed. I came back and all of a sudden I started healing. Like some friend needed healing. It activated my heart. Started getting these images. And I was like healing. I sent him a message, and that sort of he called me back with another message crying. I never heard him crying in his life. I was like, oh my God. And then I started automatic writing, and these meditations to heal the ocean came through. So I started doing that, and I started doing all these things and exploring. And when I went to Croatia, that was with Jan Lemuri, and he was going to go to Morea and have a retreat to swim with the whales. And I was like, that didn't. First of all, it was way too expensive, and second of all, it didn't. I didn't feel it. But 1 year later, I felt it. I'm like, oh my goodness, wouldn't it be nice to swim with those whales? And because in Morea, no, in Croatia, before going home, I felt this whale behind me in the meditation. I'm like, oh my God, there's this huge whale behind me. And when I started with automatic writing, the dolphins and the whales were the first ones that came through. And I felt this, and they showed me how I had always had this whale with me. Like when I was this little girl, I had this huge whale behind me. So it's like I have this connection with the whales. I'm like, oh my God. And there was like a cosmic whales. Then there was an aspect of myself who was a dolphin over there in a different dimension. So I was like, oh my God. So then I was ready to swim with the whales, and I did some automatic writing, like how can I afford this and that. And then a few days later, I got a message from Jan. He said, Fride, do you feel the whales calling? And then he offered me a huge discount. And I just felt like my head, like if literally open up, like that was my permission slip. I knew it's now or never. You want to go? You have to go now. It was in 3 weeks. Didn't have the money. I traveled on the credit card. Literally everything was paid with a credit card. And I thought, oh, maybe I'll take lots of pictures. I think I took like 3,000 pictures, thinking I'll write about it. I've done freelance journalism in the past. I'll write about it, and that's how I'll get the money back. Fine. The new universe will provide. When you feel the calling, you respond. That the universe always provides. I know that. When I came to Tahiti and Moorea, I didn't expect. Like I came I landed in Tahiti. I went down on the asphalt. I just wanted to kiss the asphalt. It was like such a relief to be home. And I was like, I cannot do this. Like people would think I'm crazy if I kiss the asphalt, you know? Get a grip. And I started crying. And Morea, meeting the whales, like when you're eye to eye with a whale, there's nothing like it. You can connect with, I had connected with the whales before, but when you're physically in their presence, in their environment, you feel that love, you see their wisdom, you feel their wisdom, they see it straight through you, and you feel that peace. And it's like an energetic field. Their frequency is so high that you are sort of like automatically lifted up in your own vibration by meeting them. And the,
Could you hear them under the water clearly? Could you hear their tones?
well, actually, those are the males
Okay.
normally. That was a female and a baby the first time I met them. So yeah, and that first year with Jan's retreat, we didn't hear any whale song, but they put like a microphone in the water and you can sort of hear it a little bit then, but we never heard it in the water. But something interesting happened that I'll get to that because basically what happened was that when I came out of that water and we were sitting on the boat going back. I was just in the front by myself and just reliving the whole moment. The others were talking, but I just wanted to relive it, you know? And I was like feeling in my heart, I started crying. And all of a sudden, I had these three Polynesian looking fishermen with the loincloths and spears standing and
Wow.
long dark hair standing in front of me. Like, and I thought, oh my God, my Lemurian heritage or my Polynesian heritage. And I don't know, it felt like Lemurians, you know? And it was the whales that were the bridge because I was feeling into the whales and they appeared. So that was like the bridge between us. So all this magic happened, and Morea is very magic. You know, it's like if I had more time, but there are interviews with me where I talk about this, so on our website. So I'll jump forward. When I was leaving Morea, I was like heartbroken. I was like, oh my God, I thought this was like a one time, but no, I think I'm gonna have to come back sometime in the future. Leaving Tahiti, same thing, you know, on the airport crying. I think I have to come back sometime in the future. When I came back to Norway, what was really interesting, first of all, I was crying for 2 months. I was like in mourning for being here instead of where I felt I needed to be. But once that was past, then I got a phone call from a lawyer's office. I had won like a legal dispute 2.5 years before, and now they had discovered they hadn't paid me all the money, so they still owed me $3,000. A lawyer's office 2.5 years later, like
Yeah,
when
this
does
is
it
unheard of.
happen?
This never happened.
I know.
Wow.
And then, like a week or two after, I got a letter in my mailbox, physical mailbox from a bank in another part of the country. I've never lived there, never had that bank. That, that they owed me like, and I called them like, what is this about? And then it turned out they had merged with another bank where I had had an account 8.5 years before, and they had discovered that there were some computer mistakes, so they owed me $750. 8.5 years later. Like, when does that even happen? And then a friend called me and she said, you know what? I had lent her some money some years before. She said, now it's time to pay you back. So she paid me $1,600. So I was just in my sofa and all this money and more than I had
Gosh.
spent just appeared. I didn't even lift a finger, you know?
What a
So
what an encouragement for all of us who,
exactly.
have these seasons where we try to figure out the details and the logistics, and sometimes the universe has an easier plan when we just trust. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, when we trust the universal manager and when we follow our heart, because that's the thing. Like I follow my heart, I follow my passion or my inspiration, and you have to get out of your comfort zone then. Because the most easy would be just be home and thinking, oh no, I can't afford that. How can I do that? That would be like the 3D. But the 5D says like, It will work out. Go for it. When you feel it, do it. Don't even hesitate. If you hesitate, that's okay, as long as you do it. Anyway, so now we passed a couple of months more, and all of a sudden, like 11:30 at night, I get this in my heart, like a download, I guess you can say, that I am going to do this next fall, like half a year, myself, organize these retreats, a retreat to swim with the whales, and like a payback to the universe, like a thank you, I'm going to pass it, keep passing it forward. And of course, like I'm like euphoric and I'm terrified and I'm euphoric and like crying, laughing and all that. I can't sleep. So I just get on the computer and by 5:30 in the morning, I have the whole outline for the retreat. Like I have the where we're going to stay and the boat company and blah, blah, blah. And now, of course, now I have all that. So I call a few friends, four friends, and three of them sign up. I'm like, oh, fantastic. Like, you have to remember, I'm very comfortable in my spiritual closet. So I'm like, oh, this is great. Like, the universe wants me to do this. So I can just do this, and the people will come. So I was going to send out some information. I realized, how am I going to do that? I don't even have, like, I need a website. I don't even know how to get a picture into a document, I need a website. And then, of course, I'm in a spiritual, like similar to this, but another group. And there it pops up this American IT guy from Silicon Valley who has gotten this idea that he has noticed that these spiritual people, they are often not very techy, okay, and that he wants to, he's thinking that he can start a business where he can help spiritual people make their own websites or that he can make it for them. So he needs a couple of guinea pigs. Me, thank you.
Wow.
I have like a session with him every like an hour every week for 2 months. And with that, I learn how to make a website. And with that, I'm finding the information. Like a website is like all the technical, then you have to have the design, like the idea, like everything. So I do that. After a couple of months, I'm like completely exhausted by this. And I'm so excited that here's the website. Nothing happens because I didn't, I had no idea that nobody sees that website. Even if you Google it, nothing comes, like because
Right.
there's no algorithm, right? So I'm like, now what? And I'm too exhausted and I don't even dare to put it on my Facebook wall because then the whole world will know that I am doing this crazy stuff. So that's how far, remote I am. I'm like, it's the universe. So I go into this deep meditation. I connect with the whales. I connect with Morea, and I connect with I feel the retreat, like all the initial feelings. And that's what I had been told by the whales as well, that, my main mission was to feel the retreat into being. So I was just reconnecting and feeling the retreat back into being. And then I sort of put it into my womb, like into my sacral.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I put it to the universe. I say, okay, universe, now is your turn. And next morning, Emily Gosh Harris, she had left me a message on Signal. Say, hey Frida, how's your website coming along? Do you have a website? Like, how's your retreat coming along? Let me know if I can help you in any way. If you want to be a guest on my podcast, I would be honored. I'm like, are you kidding me? And I'm like, yes, no, yes, no. Then you had to do it. Yeah, and that's how, of course, it all very perfectly timed, la 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 la. Now I have a retreat in Morea, which is total initiation. Because being a participant and being a facilitator is like completely different. And I was so much like, I wanted everybody to have the best experience. I was bending myself backwards. And it was completely fascinating as well because the people, because the whales had told me to trust that they will send out the energetic invitations and that the people, maybe not everybody will respond who gets the invitation, but to trust that they do that and that they will come.
Yeah.
So the people that came for the retreat, they had maybe heard an interview, started crying, they knew you had to be there. Like there was all, or they had seen the website on somebody's Facebook page and they opened it, started crying, they knew they had to be there. I mean, it was all these different amazing stories how they got to the retreat. And then one woman who came from Norway, she said, Frida, I don't know what got into me. It's like I haven't even ever sat on a swimming pool and jumped into the pool because I have water fright. I had two people on the retreat who had actual water fright. The other one was
Wow.
even worse. She was afraid to get water in her mouth. Can you imagine swimming with whales without getting water in the mouth, you know?
Wow.
Um, so
And they moved through it.
I had to flip everything upside down. Like, okay, now we have to have, instead of 1 day snorkel practice, we have snorkel practice every day for them to sort of get used to the idea and all that. So it was like, it became the mantra of the retreat was flexi flow, like being flexible, staying in the flow at the same time, mixing the
Now,
two.
do you have any upcoming retreats planned?
Yes, but let me just finish that one.
Oh,
And that's
sure, of course.
the thing is that both of them swam with whales. And
They
the
both
last
did
one
it.
was like the last minute, like the last ever, like it's now or never. And she swam with the whales, and we had the most incredible whale swim, like a holy trilogy. Is that was like the it was like a mama and a male and a baby. They were like forming a triangle, sleeping. It was so beautiful. Of course, she had no idea because that was her
Wow.
only time seeing them. But I was like, oh my God, you manifested this, This is for you, for your
So they
having
were
the
still sleeping in
yeah,
the
yeah,
triangle
but
or
this,
unity.
yeah, and then
Oh,
they have to
that's
come up,
special.
like the baby has to come up more often, but the grown-ups like 25 minutes. So slowly they just go up. They half their brain sleep at the same time at one time. Like yeah, because they have to come up
What?
into
I didn't know that. Half of the
yeah,
whale brain sleeps at a time.
yeah, because they always have to come up and breathe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one stays
So that
alert
was
just for
totally
biological.
magical. And you asked me about the whale song. And then, so I think that was on our third trip. I woke up that morning. I thought, what haven't we experienced? And then I thought, we haven't had whale song yet. And I've never, like last year, there was no whale song. I would love to hear whale song as well. So I just said to the universe, like an intention, wouldn't it be lovely if we heard whale song today? And what you do is like, I don't demand it. It was just like, wouldn't it be lovely to hear whale song today? Guess what? That day we heard whale song. And it was, it goes into your, the vibration, it just goes in. And we were there with two males, but they were not the whale singers because the whale song you can hear really far distance. So it was further away. So we couldn't see the whales that was singing, but we had those in front of us, and then we heard the whale song. And that was we had actually that day, they didn't know that, but I had ordered a professional videographer, photographer for 1 day to have like create a
So you
memory.
captured it.
And that was her. That was it. So she captured a few seconds of it. It was magnificent. And one of the participants who was not a great swimmer, so she had like a few days of practice. She didn't have water fright, but she wasn't, it took her some time to sort of be able to do this. That was her first whale swim, and she had forgotten her glasses, so she saw nothing. But she is a whale singer. She's like, it's all for her, it's all about sound, it's all about music. So for her to see nothing and just lie there and absorb all these, all this whale song, all this. It
Yeah.
was for her, it was like the ultimate magic. And I thought, wow, this is so perfect. And you don't even know how perfect this is. This is my first time experiencing whale song, and it's your first time swimming with the whales, and you get this. So it was just, you get these goosebumps. It's just incredible. The second last night, we had like a super moon ceremony with a fire on the beach and the silver moon and the magnificent, right? And I was sitting there, and by that time I had caught the cold because I once at sea I didn't dress up after I got cold and I didn't care, and then I caught a cold because I was exhausted from bending myself backward. And that was really nice because then all of a sudden when some of the participants that came with remedies and massages and healing, and now they were all taking care of me. It was so beautiful. But then when I was sitting there after, we had done our last well swim and we had done this ceremony, so really now it was just for me relaxing. My job was kind of done, and I was sitting looking into the fire, and I said to the universe, "Okay, universe, thank you. I love this experience, but I think I will not do this again. Like
Hmm.
this is I paid my dues forward, and this is it. Then when I came back to the bungalow and I opened Facebook, there's a message request from a person, a stranger, and says, "Oh, I saw your website. My dream for 30 years is to swim with the whales."
Just kidding.
I'm like, okay, I guess maybe universe, it's happening again. And then when I came back, like time goes on, in January, I had to make a decision. I was still a little bit on the fence. So I went into this deep meditation and I felt like, yes, I should do it again this year. I'm going to do it again. Okay, I'll do it again this year. And then I woke up the next morning and there was like an email chain of like 3 emails, like from a young person, like chats, like,
Mhm.
hey, I came across your website. Looks amazing. I've been dreaming about swimming with the whales. Like, how can I sign up? Next email. Um, oh, I saw it's in euro. Do you take dollars? And can I pay you with Venmo or how can I pay you? And then next email. Oh, I
Wow.
saw I pay
There it
with
is. Yeah.
PayPal and that does the euro. And yeah, see you in October. And I was like, wait, what? And I checked PayPal. She had paid for the retreat that took place half a year before in October 24.
Mhm.
And I said, oh, okay, universe, I get the message. That was like the ultimate because I already had a participant and I didn't even, book a venue or
Yeah, the
anything. So
universe is really, some of us need to get hit over the head with things and they're more,
yes,
they're more obvious. So it sounds like this is what is happening. It reminds me of having the bowling alley bumpers up, right? Like you're just smooth sailing and you know that if you're going to go into a gutter,
yeah,
you're going to bounce back in.
yes,
That's
yes,
what you've been
yes,
trusting. So you have
yes.
currently another one booked for this October?
Actually, I have two. One in September and one in October.
Okay.
And just to tie it back to what we were talking about earlier with the autism, because I've been attending these Zooms and I feel like a fly on the wall, and like I'm an eternal student, so I'm just absorbing and learning, and I'm not really like I don't feel I have anything to contribute. No, I'm just like there. And then I have a session with Mary Ann Morris the other day, and what the first thing she said was that the Autist Collective came through, and then blah 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 blah. And she said that I'm here to help them, among all the things I'm doing. I'm also here to assist them and to assist the parents. And I was like, yeah, how can I ever do that? Like, I feel they are assisting me, I feel that somehow the autist helps me in connecting with the sea and the whales and because I love the ocean is I have such a big love for the ocean and Mother Earth, and I feel that they have that. There's something here, and like I do a lot of healing, like grid work for the earth. Not a lot, but I mean I do some, especially when I travel, and I do some guided meditations on healing the oceans. Particularly, I feel the oceans is like the waters of Gaia is my particular
Right.
mission when it
You know what?
comes
I'd
to the
love to
earth.
invite you to join the bi-weekly call that Tara is hosting with some of the parents because you could just come on the call and ask them, ask their kids, how can I show up and support this community? And there's, like I said, there's several in this group whose children and moms are very connected to water. I'm very connected to water. That's a unified mission of Eden codes and of this family returning. So yeah, and
I love
anytime
that.
I'm sure
Yeah, I
they'd love
love
to
that.
have that. And
Yes, yes.
I've heard so many in the collective talking about the tones and the whales. And in fact, there's a powerful channel that was from Owen through our friend Melissa. I don't know if it's I don't know if it's a publicly available one or if it's part of their project, but again, this is a convergence. So how
Yeah, yeah.
beautiful
And what was
to
so
learn
beautiful that
about
the
this.
very first time when I jumped on the call with Melissa and her bee telepathy
Let's be.
rooms, right?
Let's be. Yes.
So she wondered if I had any questions. So then, I said, well, any message about the water? And then Mick was there. So I got a whole lecture about the ocean and the water. I'm like, oh my God, I just absolutely love this. So this was so fantastic. But then back to just to sort of tie it up, because I feel like everything it's like a puzzle, or it's like a weave from a spider web, like things are just
Yes.
coming together and you just never know. Like it seems so arbitrary, like one. passion here and one passion or and then somehow just things start coming together. And last night I just had this thing that came down and this inspiration that because I would like to do something more on Tahiti, not only with the whales, but something different, you know? And I thought, oh my God, like to have a slow retreat, like a spiritual retreat for autistic mothers, I mean, mothers who have autistic children, wouldn't that be awesome? Because they're meeting on Zooms and they're meeting online and they're doing this incredible jobs and incredible works. And I thought, wow, for them to get together and meet in person and then have some themes like how to learn to speak directly, telepathically with your own children and things like that, you know, like, wouldn't that be amazing just to come together and sort of have a very slow, lots of relaxation and absorbing that island, the tropical island culture and vibes because the vibes are just very healing and yeah. So I thought, oh wow, that would be so amazing. So I started researching last night, but I didn't get anywhere with that. But it feels like there's something here, you know? So I'm just like throwing it out there because just to sort of connect just to
Yes.
show how like my North Star, that's how it works. Like I get these inspirations and all of a sudden it's like sometimes you can even see like on your inner eye, you just see things like falling in place and it's just fascinating.
It absolutely is. I mean, after this call, I have uh, a parent who also is a whale researcher I want to connect you with. And then I'm thinking of another friend who has uh, like water therapy that they do that work with us. So even after this call, I'm like, there's two people that jumped in from, those are the downloads we follow them, right? We follow
Yeah,
the yellow brick road
exactly.
because we keep getting more, and we just
Yeah,
trust that the guidance and the love always keeps us in the light and on our path, and then let go of the self-criticism or the regret or the urgency and instead just say, I'm in the flow of this. So thank you so much for meeting with me and explaining this exciting season you're on to, because we would love to follow you along this. So I just encourage you to share, your videos, your pictures, your feelings as you take this trip. Please don't feel like it's promotion or anything like that. It's the
okay,
opposite. We
okay.
literally want to support you and witness you and see you in
Oh,
this. And then we want to see how the collective heart and mind is coming together for whatever this other vision is. And I just wanted to end with an affirmation that although we weren't discussing whales specifically, I did talk to our friend Tara last night, and we were saying we need to find a place where people can gather physically and meet. These parents can meet. And that was just our conversation last night. Even she even brought up
wow.
Ohio. She said, well, Ohio in America is very centralized. So I mean, we were really just talking about this. And she said on the next call that we have within this community, let's just bring it up because, again, yeah, these Zooms are very powerful and connective and important, but also many of us are grid workers. We're in person energy people. And when I go meet you and then you go meet so and so, we're always carrying the
Yes,
facets of one another and harmonizing. And then these whales are almost doing it globally with us,
yeah,
right? And other
yeah.
dimensionally. So it's been such a pleasure to connect with you, and I'm really excited to witness this upcoming season and the future. And just thank you for your positive outlook. Thank you for your resiliency. Thank you for your openness. Thank you for the encouragement I felt just listening to you today. So I'm excited to also have others get to experience this, Frida. You've been an amazing friend and guest on our Share Your Story.
Well, thank you. And let me hold that mirror back up to you, for your
Aw,
amazingness, for
thanks,
doing
sis.
this. And thank you for the opportunity, but also for the whole container, which is quite incredible. I think I just love it. Like the sessions I've attended, and also, the sessions that I haven't attended, but that are there that I'm going to, some of them I started looking at, and I've been very busy and also I'm in a different time zone and all that. So some of them are in the middle of the night, but I receive so much from being part of this, and I absolutely love it. And thank you so much.
You are welcome. And if you'd like to host anything, it might be that you're quite busy the next seasons, but just let us know too, because we'd love to
Okay.
learn more about you and about whales and about oceans and about some of your past writing, autonomic writing, the things that you've done
Okay.
connected to the autistic community. I mean, you have so much to offer. And again, this is a group of empowering leaders, right? We're leading with our sisters next to us. So everyone is welcome in that way. So you just let me know there. And
Okay. Thank
blessings and
you.
love to you, sis.
Thank you. Take care. Let's talk soon.
Take care.